All right, guys. So, welcome to Philosophy Culture's new episode about the South Sea bubble and the bubble. Yeah, and I'm here as always with my partner in crime for episodes and for podcasts, Mr. Emil. How are you doing?
Hey, motherfuckers. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and what else are we gonna talk about though?
So yeah, me and Costin are gonna cover the pop, the bubble, the South Sea bubble. We're gonna talk about how England, Great Britain, in quotation marks, looked like, and all that jazz. The good stuff, the stocks, the hype, all the good things. Yeah. Hey, check it out.
Check it out.
The South Sea bubble. Yeah. Okay. The classic question. Why is this important, Costin?
It is important because I think it was considered one of the most uh, or like one of the biggest financial uh, crisis at that time, at least after Tulip Mania, right? And also because I think we could see some of the, you know, some of the things that led uh, to this crisis could perhaps be visible even in today's society. Maybe not at the same scale, with the corruption and everything, but I think there are some notes that are good to maybe highlight.
Yeah, there's a big possibility that it kind of has influenced at least the English society somewhat, or I think that's kind of safe to say almost. Yeah,
Yeah.
after such a big event, but um, as they even said in this one video that they were still trying to pay off uh, Great Britain's debt in 2015. So that's crazy. But maybe before we get into the details of that, maybe we should. I can answer the classic question first, and then we can kind of uh, give a basic presentation of the topic, right? So that everybody um, is up to speed, so to say, with us. But yeah, so yeah, like you said, it was like one of the biggest financial scandals. Uh, I would even dare to say in world history, and I like how they put it in this one video. They said it was perhaps some of the wildest financial chicanery of the 18th century, and this chicanery that's a new word for me, but I had to look that up. That means basically some sort of uh, uh, you know, like a scheme, like a scam, almost like on like a financial scam of some sort. Uh, don't quote me, but like that's uh, kind of the meaning of what I how I understood it. But yeah. One of the biggest financial scandals,
Hmm.
and it is just valuable to go back into the history and see what has happened and what lessons we can take from it, and so that is why it is important.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Good. So shall we just give some background to Great Britain's situation before the whole thing erupted?
yeah. So
Yeah.
now in the story we are in the 18th century, right? So 1700,
Yes. Indeed.
and yeah. My dogs are back from their walk.
Yeah.
Uh, but so yeah, 18th century, and we don't actually have a Britain then. It's there isn't such thing called the Great Britain. I think it's just England, Scotland. I'm not sure about in what kind of situation Ireland is in, but I assume they were separate as well.
Yeah.
And also in that time, England was involved in a lot of wars around Europe, which yeah, was kind of one of the biggest reasons why um, England had such huge debt on its hands. But I guess we will go into that. Or yeah, I guess we are already kind of into that topic at the moment. But yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think the main thing was the War of the Spanish Succession, right? So it was just a war against the Spanish army, that they were fighting, and they were obviously fighting in some other countries as well. Uh, I think France was also one of these countries, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so as you said, Emil, there were a lot of wars going on, and Great Britain or England was involved in multiple on multiple sides, right? Um, and yeah,
yeah.
so I think the War of the Spanish Succession began in like 1701, um,
Right.
and in 1702, Anne becomes the Queen of England. And why we say this? Well, actually, maybe it won't have such a big impact on our storytelling. So okay, forget about it. Uh, but apparently, well, hold up. It says that Anne becomes Queen of England, Scotland, and Ireland. Ireland. So yeah, because later, 5 years later, in 1707, the English and the Scottish parliaments unite to form the Great Britain.
Voila.
Voila. Okay, and now, and now, and now, yeah. Shall we jump to one of the main characters here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now we have kind of given a basic background, like where England is during that time.
Yeah.
And we can start off with this one politician, then a guy named Robert Harley.
Hmm?
I was gonna say Harley, but yeah,
Yeah.
Robert Harley, right? And he basically became the chancellor of the I can't pronounce that word. Ex exchequer, maybe it is, but it's basically the same thing as the secretary of the treasury in US. But maybe I should have done more research. I don't actually know what that position um, entails. But yeah, basically, our guy Robert Harley became the secretary of the treasury in England, basically, if we use American terms, right? And I guess yeah, he wanted to do a good job, and then wanted to like sort out the economics because it is a position that has some sort of influence in the economic realm, I assume. But so yeah, on the spreadsheet, or he put together, or wait, du-du-du-du-du. Yeah, he looked at Britain's balance sheet. So he saw the assets and he saw the debt, and the debt was a lot like huge, was huge. So kind of panicked, and also like on the spreadsheet, like they haven't even at all the exact amount of debt written down. So our guy Harley had to do his own research to yeah kind of figure out how much in debt England actually was. And when he was done with his so-called research, he didn't even get down to a exact amount. It was just uh, around like a estimate number. So yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, like the debt was so huge that they even had to like kind of still pay it back in 2015. But it's so crazy because they could have actually paid down the debt much earlier. But I guess we will get into that. Um, yeah, down the line. And yeah, so we have Harley, and maybe one thing that is good to also say is that there were like these two political parties in England, as we have in the States as well. That we have the Republicans and that we have the Liberals. And England had the Tories, which were, maybe I should show the Whigs with my left hand, since they were liberals. And then we have the Tories, which were the conservatives. And those were the two parties that kind of, I guess they had like a two-party system back then, I guess.
Hmm.
And uh, our guy Harley, he was one of the Tories, one of the conservative ones, who had gotten his position. And so, yeah, as I said earlier, he wanted to do a good job. And since England was in kind of a bad economic shape, he just wanted to kind of keep things afloat during the first year, so to say. And which meant that I guess he wanted to also start to get a hold of the debt situation as well, right? He wanted to figure out a way how they could start to get some arrangements in place so that they could take care of the debt. But yeah, there was like this interesting situation, right? So we had the first problem, which I already kind of mentioned, that the accounting, which was done before Harley, was just somebody had done a really bad job with that. Then we have the second problem, which is since Harley was a Tory, a conservative, and kind of the big institutions then, or exactly at that time when Harley got into his position, was controlled by the other party, the Whigs. Um, they had like or no, I guess the Tories. Well, okay, let's just maybe not complicate things too much. But the Whigs had the control over the Bank of England, which was um, we can say that, yeah, we can take that as a first problem. Do-do-do-do-do.
Another problem I think was with the taxes, right?
Yeah,
So
but I
yeah,
wanna say this about the Bank of England first. Um, and since the bank was controlled by the Whigs, um, this wasn't really an option that the I guess it was the central bank in England, right? That the central bank would help out the government, since the government, like the party that was the majority in the government, was the Tories, I guess. Yeah, because before it was the Whigs, now it was the Tories. So there was like this two-party feud going on multiple, yeah, in multiple areas, so to say. So we had the Bank of England, which was controlled by the Whigs, which put a stop on, or hindered Harley to, yeah, uh, get the help needed with that from there. So the other option was also to raise taxes, but since it was this interesting situation, so We have the it's called the House of Commons, which was a deeply partisan two-party body. Uh, and yeah, like I said before, it was controlled by the liberal Whigs. Now it was the conservative Tories which had come into power. But somehow, when the opposite party, even if they were a minority, they could sort of block like the legislation from the opposite party, which was the majority. I'm not sure how that worked, but yeah, so there was this thing going on, so they couldn't really collaborate in a productive way, which also hindered, like you said, Costin, from taking care or start to kind of get a hold of the debt through raising taxes as well, which was an option. So we have the Bank of England, which didn't work out, and then we had the taxes, which didn't work out either, which were like yeah, like two of the ways which Harley was trying to solve this issue with. Then we have the third option, which was, or do you want to take that, Costin? I was thinking about
Oh,
the
sure.
I was thinking about
Yeah,
the
but
outside help, so to say.
yeah, yeah, and due to the Great Britain situation, they couldn't, of course, they couldn't get any help from outside or take any loans from other countries because they were in the middle of different wars, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that option fell as well.
Exactly, exactly. And that left Harley to explore some unorthodox choices, right? Which leads us to our second character, which almost is like the main character in this whole, or one of the main characters in this whole event, which is John Blunt. So yeah, that is a very important name, John Blunt, and he at that time before the South Sea Company, which we will get to. So before that, he was the owner of this company called the Hollow Sword Blade Company. So he had a monopoly on sword making, right, in England. So he already was a powerful guy, in a sense. And when Harley went to John Blunt for help. John Blunt saw that as a yeah money opportunity, right? Because he was really one thing to say about John Blunt is that he was really financially savvy. So he knew how to set up schemes and stuff like that to yeah 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 uh, get that back and yeah but I'm not sure if I want to get into this or how good I will be at explaining this, since we didn't even go through this before we started to record either. But Blunt had like this scheme at first. Uh, nice. I think it's like too detailed, but like he had this like intricate plan how to raise money from the bunchers. Like the buncher is a debt instrument or yeah, issued by companies to raise capital. And like he did some sort of a thing to raise money, but what was it for? I'm not sure. Maybe it was to it was like a first attempt to start to kind of come up with a plan to take care of the debt, like to right to start pay off the debt. Um, they had this, and then they also uh, John Blunt made this lottery thing as well,
Oh yeah.
and that was like a scheme as well to try to pay off government debt, and that was actually how they uh, got through the first year. even though the lottery wasn't really that beneficial, and then England got actually in more debt because of that, because they had like this interesting thing in this lottery, that no matter who bought like the ticket, right, the lottery ticket, they would they were guaranteed to get back 10% of like or so, it was something with 10%, which it wasn't really that beneficial economically for the government. But through that, they raised enough money to, I guess, keep things afloat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then came the, or I don't know then and then, but after a while came the brilliant idea to actually buy the government debt, right? And try to, that was an interesting one. So what they did, what was that they issued stocks depending on the governmental debt. So the more debt the government had, the more stocks they could issue. Uh, which I don't know where on the time scale I am now. It's maybe
No, either.
yeah. But I remember they said something about it in the video that we watched. Uh,
I think you are jumping
that,
ahead. To be honest, I think we should maybe say that we can maybe just start with the founding of the South Sea Company, right? Which was in 1711,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
So that was the year when the company was founded. I guess by John Blunt, since he was the mastermind behind a lot of these schemes.
But wait, the lottery thing wasn't a part of the South Sea Company, was it?
You know what? I'm not actually too sure, but yeah, like I said, the lottery, like uh, I see it in my notes here that the lottery did bring a much needed influx of cash. So I guess that sort of helped to get a hold of the debt somewhat. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure actually.
Well, maybe that was just the beginning before founding South Sea Company, right?
Yeah, I think that was like one of the attempts to raise capital for the debt, and then after the lottery, we have the South Sea Company, which is a trading company. But I'm not sure. Damn, that's actually a really crucial part. But I forgot like the things that happened before the South Sea Company was founded. Like, but yeah, it was a trading company, and we have the South America, which was like the main uh, area in the world where the trading would take place. But since in South America, the all of the main seaports were controlled by the Spaniards, they got a pretty bad deal. Like the company, the South Sea Company, got a really like a kind of bad deal with like the bad trading deal because they were at war. And yeah, something like that. Are you like looking up some stuff, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I was just looking at like the concept of the company and why it all began and how
Okay.
it everything went, and it was just as we said, like in the beginning, Robert Horley and John Blunt basically came up with this scheme to try to manage the debt, right? And what they did was so it was Bank of England that had all of this debt and was in charge of everything.
Mhm.
However, with these company that they with the South Sea Company, they were actually allowed. So the Bank of England was allowed to transfer their debt to the South Sea Company, and since this company took over all the debt uh, and tried to pay it off, the the Bank of England would pay them a interest rate of 6% per year, which they eventually would pay to their investors that bought their stock, uh, that bought South Seas Company stock.
Right.
Uh, so the South Sea Company would eventually issue shares to the same value. So this is what the thing that I was mentioning. So if, for example, uh, they had like, if for example Bank of England had a debt of, let's say, 10,000 10,000
Pounds.
10,000
Pounds.
yeah, pounds or whatever. Um, South Sea Company would issue, for example, 1,000 shares at the price of £10, right? So 10 times 1,000, 10,000, and that would equal the debt.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that they were playing with. Um, and yeah, besides that, the yearly interest that was paid out by the Bank of England was eventually given to the shareholders as a dividend, basically. Um, and here we come to the South Americas. They were basically given a monopoly to trade in South America. Um, but as you said, they were at war they were at war with Spain, and eventually this, here comes the political side that you are much better on when it comes to all the different parties. The Whigs and the
In the Tories, yeah.
Tories. Yeah, somehow they got, you know, they came to the conclusion that there should be peace, and everything came to peace, but it was still like the Spanish side that was the winning side, as England kind of surrendered, in my opinion. That's how I see it, the whole thing. Um, and then comes the whole treaty that was signed in Utrecht in Germany. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry
yeah,
all the
yeah.
Germans because I'm abusing your language. Uh, but that's where they basically signed a contract or a treaty which allowed the which allowed England to or the South Sea Company to actually trade slaves in the Americas. But the problem was that they were only allowed to basically use one ship per year to trade these slaves, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which was way, way, way too little with what they actually expected from the whole uh, process.
Yeah.
And yeah, they didn't make any proper profits actually from it.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true. And yeah, because of that, I think a lot of people that were close to the scheme realized that it's just a shit show. But back home, like they didn't say that to the countrymen. It's kind of my look on it, uh, because they still hyped it up as much as they did, like to just, I guess, I assume their intent in the beginning was to actually take care of the debt, right? So even though the the backbone of the company wasn't really looking that great with the cash flow and everything like that, but since it has so much hype, uh, yeah, they kind of went along with the hype that was already there and just made it yeah went in on that, right, and tried to raise the money from a illusionary evaluation of the company, right? Uh, so everybody in England would think that, oh, the company is so big, and even the monarchs, the king, got behind the company and stuff like that. Uh, so it was such a big deal, and yeah, they it's crazy, yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean they managed to raise because all of this trade was basically this trade was actually with Spain, right? If I'm not mistaken. So the company was working in or for England, so to say, but it was actually trading. So the Spanish would bring slaves from Africa to Jamaica, and then from Jamaica or from the Americas or South Americas, that's where the whole South Sea company would take their ships filled with slaves and bring them back to Europe or like Spain, and then trade them, right? Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was interesting because this is all when it came. This was all during Anne's, like Queen Anne's time. But if I remember correctly, she eventually died, and a new character came into the picture, which was the King George
Hmm.
George the Second. Yeah. So Queen Anne dies, and George the First becomes king, and the king's son. Okay, sorry, the king's son George the Second becomes the governor and the South of the South Sea Company, which again hyped up the whole company, and I mean, if you have governmental sort of support, and if the king's son is involved, then it's like kind of,
Seen as legit.
yeah, a secure deal sort of. Uh, but as as the trading with slaves doesn't pay off, uh, and a lot of other factors as well, uh, King George the First takes his son's place, which once again pumps the whole thing up. Um, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And like at that point, the company was like too big to fail, in many eyes, right? Since it's so legit. When you look when you take in the face value of things. Uh, so yeah, but then we also have John Blunt, which is the main salesman for the South Sea Company stocks, right? He is the one that is having these campaigns where he is basically selling the shares of the company and trying to get as many people on board of the on this whole thing, right? He's offering people unbelievably good deals on the shares. Like you can put down like I don't know 20% like down payment and get a loan to the rest. Or yeah, loan the rest of like the 80%, and even at one at one moment, it was down to 10%. You could have the 10% down payment and a loan 90% and stuff like that, and like crazy benefits from the whole deal, which I guess people had their critical thinking shut down since the whole company, was so hyped up and it was seen as such a legit thing. So I guess people had their hopes up for better days and bought into the whole thing.
But the thing is that they did manage to make some profits, right? So the investors, they did profits because they were like buying and then selling and buying and selling, and then they got all these loans that they could pay off because the stock had gone up and
Yeah,
up and up, and then they sold and so on. Uh,
exactly.
and then there were so many part of like different politicians and yeah,
Statesman. Yeah,
yeah, different politicians involved and bribed to just get the price up.
exactly.
But as you said, I think that the hype around it was, uh, in my opinion, I think it was just that it was backed by the king as well, right? So the king joined it, and also all these deals that were kind of paying off, but uh, eventually kind of failed.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
And that's also what happened in the end. Or do you wanna add us anything?
Um, no, well, I can try to,
Yeah.
but yeah, like we said now, the thing was so hyped up. Blunt was doing his best to sell the shares and stuff, but I wanted to speak about the last tries Blunt had with selling, the stocks, which I kind of already mentioned with the 10% down payment and stuff. But at that point, that was actually one of the last attempts for Blunt to sell a company's stocks, and the largest price the stock got was like £1,000 a stock, which was like the pinnacle of the thing, which was yeah, a crazy amount. Even yeah, with the idea in mind that they didn't actually make basically any profit with the company, and they yeah, Rose Rose got all that money just basically from the marketing
Hmm.
of the company. Basically, it's kind of reminds me of the .com bubble. In a
Hmm.
way,
Yeah.
it was the marketing that did the job. And what did I want to say? Was stock price £1,000? No, I had something. Tu- 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 tu. Tu- 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 tu. Damn, I lost it.
What was the last thing you said?
No, I was just speaking about the what the heck? What is my mind doing at the moment, man? I'm totally blacking out. But I spoke about the 10% down payment,
Yeah, you spoke about the hype.
the hype, exactly, the .com bubble. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, yeah, maybe I
But
will just come back to it later. But yeah, that was basically the pinnacle. And at that point, many people actually realized how much money the company had to make to be evaluated or value to be evaluated that high. It was like Yeah, it was like a crazy amount. It was like, I don't know, a fourth of the country. I don't know. It was something crazy.
It was like one fourth of the country's GDP.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it was like in today's money, the whole company would have been evaluated at around uh 85 trillion pounds.
Yeah,
If
yeah, yeah,
according to our sources.
yeah.
Um, but
And then
now we have to keep in mind that I think
Apple, right?
Apple, yeah, is like much less than one trillion.
It's like around 1 trillion. Yeah,
Yeah. Even though BlackRock and all these other, I think they are evaluated at, or they are like managing assets are for around like 3 millions or something like that. I don't know.
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I remember what I was gonna say. It was that the main objective was to pay off the debt, and when they were at this apex point where the stock or where the share price was £1,000 per share, right? I assume that's how you say it. uh, by that point, the company is like worth four times as much as the government debt. So they could have taken that money from the people and already like I guess
But I'm wondering if they actually could have done it because if you think about it, if they would just have paid down like 10% of the actual amount, they would
yeah,
still not come up to that sum of money, right?
10%. What do you mean?
So, for example, they had like four times. So they had the national the company was evaluated at the price of four times of the debt, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I guess yeah,
But if we think that they had this deal that you pay down 10% and the next year or after a year you start paying off your loan or like
yeah,
the 90% that you owe us for the stock, they still wouldn't have been able to actually pay it off.
yeah. I assume it would have gotten complicated either way, but kind of as I see it,
Hmm.
when they had reached the point where they could have, when they had kind of had raised as much money to kind of take care of the debt, right? Or because that was the plan, right? They would issue as much or that many stocks to that would equal the state debt that they had,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And when they had reached that point and initially, I don't think well everything was kind of already fake at that point, but yeah, I wonder how that would have looked if they would have tried to because they already had converted the state debt into the shares, right?
Yeah.
Or that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. They were issuing stocks depending on the state debt. Yeah.
Right. So couldn't they have just paid off the state debt then if they already had the funds for it? Like they had the equal amount of money, like that they had to pay back. Like if we have here the money that they had to pay back, here the money that they would raise to equal the debt amount. Couldn't they have just
Yeah, but
kind
then
of?
That's the thing because the whole thing is an evaluation, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't really mean that they actually had all that money in the bank. Uh,
Not in the bank, but like, or didn't they? Or not actually, yeah, because yeah, damn. But I mean, that is the way how companies raise money. So it isn't the money theirs?
it is, but I think now we're talking about the evaluation of the company.
Uh, I'm more so. I'm trying to see if they actually could have paid.
Could have paid it. Yeah, because it feels like
Paid
they could have. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but when it gets, if we go back to the apex moment of it all, when the
Yeah.
company was worth four times as much,
Yes.
then it might maybe gets like complicated because it was uh like by then they already had the ridiculous campaigns with the margin investing and stuff like that. So I guess things get more complex. But in the beginning, when I think I would assume they got to the state debt level, so to say, right, by pure hype, without the sketchy schemes of the margin investing. I assume. No, I'm not sure if that is how it went down, but I assume it did.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But all right.
Hmm.
So people realize that yeah, when we go back to the apex point, people realize that um, the company has to earn a ridiculous amount of money to be able to be evaluated at that high level. And yeah, just everything dropped basically. I don't want to go into too much details and fumble my way forward. So let's just say that everything went downhill from there, and people realized what was going on. Then we have the whole domino effect. We have the suicides. We have the yeah the monarchs take a hit as well
Hmm.
since their reputation. Well, I actually have a few notes here about the aftermath.
Didn't they start like a sort of investigation of all of the people involved, including the politicians and so on?
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, sure. Uh, but yeah, financial ruin. Uh, Bursting of the South Sea bubble led to widespread financial ruin for investors who had bought into the speculation frenzy. Many individuals lost their life savings and fortunes, resulting in personal bankruptcies, economic hardship, and social unrest. Then we have a second thing, as I have in my notes, is a loss of confidence. The collapse of South Sea bubble shattered public confidence in financial markets and investment schemes. Investors became wary of speculative ventures and were more cautious about investing in stocks and securities, leading to a decline in market activity. Uh, Third thing, regulatory reforms. In response to the financial chaos caused by the South Sea bubble, the British government enacted regulatory reforms aimed at preventing similar excess, uh, financial excesses in the future. The Bubble Act of 1720 was passed to regulate joint stock companies and prevent fraudulent schemes. Fourth thing, the political fallout. The South Sea Bubble scandal tarnished the reputation of prominent politicians and government officials who had been involved in promoting and profiting from the scheme. Followed from the scandal led to political turmoil and damaged the credibility of the ruling government. So that was a few points from ChatGPT. Thank you, ChatGPT. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And with
Yeah.
that being said,
That being said, do you have any last thoughts?
I don't have any last thoughts actually. Just that you know, the South Sea Company eventually, like, they continued their sort of uh their activities to manage governmental debt and so on. But it was disestablished in like 1853, and yeah, the debt, as we said in the beginning of the video, is still, it's still to be paid. Uh,
Is it like even today?
yeah, I think so, because after the First World War, it was like, you know,
Crazy.
there was some extra. I mean, once with the war, the First World War,
Yeah.
it was consolidated again.
What does it mean? Consolidated.
I think it's like, wait,
I think I
um,
looked up that word before, but I forgot what it meant.
yeah, it was like added to it, sort of.
Ah,
Yeah.
right,
Um, yeah.
right, right, right.
So
Okay. Yeah. And I have two thoughts that I want to say.
cool.
One thing that I mentioned before we started to record is that I'm kind of stuck on this, and it's crazy to me how many people and in so many ways people kind of leave out the idea of having a vision, and that, in my opinion, this is a big scandal uh, happening, or a big yeah, crisis happening because they didn't have a clear vision. Well, they had it first. They wanted to pay off the debt, but then greed took over and kind of erased vision from their from their plan. Right? They just want to. I don't know. I get this vision of driving as fast as you can and just seeing what happens, kind of kind of thing. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of one thing. And even though it was like a scam from the beginning almost, but I don't know if they at least had the vision. Okay, we will get it to uh, let's say maybe not £1,000 per share, but let's say 800 pounds per share. Uh, they see how ridiculous the situation is and kind of do like a pump and dump scheme or something like now I'm like speaking taking the devil's advocate side of things, but if they even had like that vision to scam the people, okay then, uh, but they didn't seem to have any vision, like they just wanted to like experiment how far they could take it almost, or that is how it seemed like to me. Okay, that was the vision comment I wanted to say. The second thing. Fuck. Duh, 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 duh. Second vision. I don't know. I don't know.
I was also thinking about the herd mentality, right? Because approximately, well, not approximately, maybe 1880 or, yeah, 70 years earlier, it was this tulipmania, right, in the Netherlands. And there was also some kind of hype and like herd mentality, like everyone was just pumping up the the prices of the tulips. Uh, and yeah, this one was a bit more complicated than just selling and buying tulips at an exaggerated price, because this involved like the actual stock price and a
Stated
lot of
that.
money. Yeah, and business, and yeah, as you said, maybe it felt more legit somehow. And
Well,
especially since it was like backed by the, like endorsed by the king.
yeah,
So
the monarchs. Yeah.
yeah, they have a they have an excuse indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the herd mentality is the one that is causing all this crisis.
Yeah, I guess you can note that down as
Mm.
human trait, but like we are pack animals, and we like to be around other people, so it only makes sense that we have this sort of a flaw, I guess, in this circumstance. Uh, but yeah,
But on the same time, it's interesting because even though even if you may have followed this herd mentality, so let's say everyone was hyped about it in the beginning, and then you were like, yeah, after 1 year, you made some profits out of it. But then comes the question like, when is it like too hyped up, or like when should you stop? And I think that's a question that maybe no one could properly answer before it's too late.
well. There were actually if we go back to this series on YouTube from the YouTube channel Extra History, so we gotta
Yeah.
have to give a shout out to them because
There
they,
was this dude, right?
huh?
There was this dude that was just about to reinvest, and then his friend was like, "Nah, don't do it."
Exactly, because like you said, there was like this pattern of people kind of profiting and then reinvesting, and uh, that was one of the mechanisms, I guess, that helped to drive up the price as well.
Yeah,
Then what was ChatGPT? I actually looked up his name. So it was Robert Walpole, which was a prominent British statesman who played a significant role in British politics during the early 18th century, including the period of the South Sea Bubble. Then we'll just go jump down to the like the last paragraph. So, Robert Walpole, during the Nazi bubble period, was characterized by his attempts to navigate the complexities of British politics and financial markets. While he initially opposed the South Sea Company scheme, he was unable to prevent its implementation, and was later instrumental in addressing the fallout from the speculative bubble and implementing reforms to prevent similar crises in the future. But they forget to mention that he actually profited a lot from this
yeah,
scheme as well, because he had his financial advisor, I guess, that advised him to jump out at a pretty good point. So, and later on, he actually wanted to kind of take over the government and stuff. And there was like this whole thing with him, between him and Blunt, I think, where Blunt fled the country and stuff, and blah blah blah. But yeah, those are some details. But yeah,
yeah. I think Walpole managed to. I think he got like a very high position in the end.
yeah.
As in today's world, that would have been like the prime minister of Great Britain, sort of.
Yeah, it said that he was the first prime minister,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
So, for sure. So
So
his plan turned out great, at least.
yeah, he got
Yeah.
his comeback. Because
Yeah,
I think in the beginning he was thrown in jail, right?
yeah, exactly, because he opposed the South Sea Company. So yeah, he got his revenge, I guess, in a way, because he got a lot of money. I assume he ended up better financially than even Blunt, because Blunt ended up walking away with. £5,000. I'm not sure how much Walpole made of this whole thing, but my guess would be it was a bit more. And yeah, so yeah, interesting. And
Yeah.
then my second thought was that yeah, almost forgot it now also, but it's kind of this macro perspective on things, like you know how the whole financial industry is actually like pretty young, because we have the tulip mania, which didn't happen that long ago, and I think all these crises had to happen to kind of see, if we see the whole economic industry as a boat. These crises had to happen to see where boat has its holes, right?
Mm.
And then and that's kind of, at least my thoughts at the moment. That is why we have it. There is so many regulations in the financial industry, right? I think when I listened to Founders was one one guy who made it big in the Wall Street industry. I should actually know his name. But yeah, it was it is now one of the most regulated like industries, like with the most regulations, and isn't, yeah, as you know, free ceiling free, which is actually like uh one of the rules from Warren Buffett, like where when he looks at he has this theory of uh, people, or he analyzed people's success. So he has like this mental model of riding the wave, and that is basically like the timing, the right place, and then if you ride a wave, you will like you will get this Lollapalooza effect where like everything comes together, and like and that is one of the one of the damn one of the one of the things that has to be in place, that market is unregulated, or like uh, as less, or my English, man. But yeah, it has to be regulated as little as possible. There we go. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I think I've listened to that episode because it kind of reminds me of what you're saying. Yeah. I think it will be interesting to see, I like that you said that the economy is so young. And I think it will be interesting to see how this whole global economy will turn out eventually, right? Because it feels like the economy is just getting more and more complex somehow, just because there are so many parties involved. Like before, you maybe had just one. You had like the countries were more independent, right, and had their own like more independent economy. But now it feels like everything is so mixed and so dependent of each other. So interconnected maybe is the word.
And also
Uh,
so, yeah, also
yeah,
so bureaucratic as well.
yeah. So it will be interesting. And about the hype and everything, it will be interesting to see if there is something about the AI hype that I've seen that some people are talking about. Because now the AI stocks, according to some investors, feel very uh, overvalued.
Right, right, right.
Um, so yeah. Okay, now I jumped to something else.
No, but it's still connected for sure.
Yeah. Um, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm done. I have no more comments actually.
I don't have any more comments either. I think we covered the essential points, I would say.
Yeah, fair bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
good.
All right, ladies and gents, thank you for listening to another episode of Philosophy Culture. We hope that you enjoy this episode about South Sea Bubble. Hope you learned something about England's history, I guess, financial history. And yeah, hope this info will maybe help you navigate a life spin as always. Yeah,
Exactly. And as we always say, don't hesitate to write in the comment section what you think about the episode. Maybe if you have some other ideas about any other financial crisis or whatever you feel like, just write down below. And then click a lot of buttons, the follow button and all kind of buttons, notification buttons. And have a really nice day or night or wherever you are. Uh, Take care.
take care.
Adios.